you find it does not match with the books. So you'll find you're getting into your pocket deeper and deeper, or even looking for loans, that it actually got to a point where we got into a loan to even start paying operational expenses, which right now where I sit, that is definitely one of the things that for any business that is going down that road, we might want to reevaluate. So long story short, when we started having a few the challenges that we had with compensation, because it was a category B of level 4, so that meant we were also taking, or rather, we could take both all our inpatients was being catered for through the fund. Therefore, there was no payment, so we were all fully relying on the fund. And I think history, and which is now could also still be one of the challenges that some of you might be experiencing. It crippled our business, and because we didn't have the backup, and it was a new venture, or rather it was a relocation of a business, we ended up being in a point where we had to close down. Few years down the line, I'm back to my feet, and though in a different arm or angle, still supporting the healthcare industry. So where am I driving at with this starting story is business. I must tell you, it's hard, and it's not for the faint-hearted. And one of the places I realized that business is not easy is in healthcare and in agriculture, because those are two sectors and industries that I've participated in. And where in agriculture, you might not be able to predict what you might get. There are some means of how you control the environment and all that, but there's some uncertainties that you typically not have control over. In healthcare, on the other side, or the flip side, there are some parameters you might control, but you might find, being again a heavily regulated industry, then it calls for, again, a good alignment with policy and the regulatory environment to ensure that the businesses are successful. But most importantly, even before we get there, then we ask ourselves, in our own businesses, have we put all the measures and practices in place to ensure that the business is successful? So 2.5 years, now it's almost 3 years ago, in 2021, Strathmore Business School came into collaboration and partnership with USAID under the USAID Strategic Partnership Program, and came up with a program where we asked ourselves, these businesses, and you can think of that level 2 hospital or level 3 hospital in the rural areas in Isiolo or in Makueni, that has not only just the regulatory challenges, but even just the business operational challenges. How do these kind of businesses receive business development support that ensures that the businesses become sustainable? So we came in this collaboration with USAID to come and ask ourselves, how can we support businesses in those rural areas, in the grassroots levels, to be able to ensure that we make their businesses profitable and increase their productivity? So with that, we through the Strathmore Business School, went around and started looking around for a model that we felt might be one that might help to handhold these businesses. In the normal day, you will come across business development support that offers trainings, but it's one thing offering a training to a clinical officer or a director to an institution or into a healthcare facility, and leaving them to go and apply what they have learned. And one of the things that brought me to the realization that probably taking a step back from the level 4 hospital, because I know personally of quite a number of facilities that have heavily invested in the healthcare facilities, and they're so deep into it that withdrawing is not an option for them. But for me, I immediately subscribed and attended a course known as the Management Healthcare in Business in Strathmore. Again, at least I was privileged to know someone who referred me to that program. It was also a partnership through IFC that was offering financing and Strathmore Business School. So through that program and with an investment of close to 200K, I was able to get to realization of some mistakes that if I did not put in place in good time, then I would have ended up not in a very, even in a worse state than by the time I was exiting. And because there was also the lecturer who I got now to personally interact with and who handheld me in that process to tell me, hey, let's go visit your facility. Let's see what are some of these mistakes you might have made and that you might probably want to do away with them. And how do you scale down, or how do you ensure that you run a sustainable business, that the costs are being sustained by the revenue that comes into the business? Unfortunately, this is not an opportunity that many healthcare facilities get. And that is when, with all that experience and the knowledge that we got, then we came up with this model known as the Small Business Development Centers model that we borrowed from the US and has been in existence for the last 40 years. And through the donor and the US taxpayers' money, we have now been able to support some businesses which will be going on up to the year 2026, where now they'll be getting this advisory and training without pay. What we look at when we get into these businesses are economic impact. Because at the end of the day, when we offer you this advisory and training, we have to ensure that we report impact on our interaction. And some of the impact that we'll be looking at, because that is what justifies our support that we can be able to offer to you as a business. That is in job creation and retention, business expansion, which means how do we support you to increase your revenue? How do we support you to formalize? How do we support you to get contracts? How do we also support you to increase your sales? And then finally, how do we support you as a business to increase your capital? So for those businesses, because even for that time when the few years I operated the hospital, I got some capital injection through a bank, and there were several avenues. Others came in form of asset financing, others came in form of working capital. And these are some of the capital infusion, and some of it also came from personal savings. So these are some of the things that if we start this journey with a healthcare facility or a business, then we ensure that we put all that into consideration. This was just the theory of change that we used back then to develop this concept, where we found out that not very many businesses have access to these support services. Because again, maybe they're located maybe in the urban areas such as Nairobi. So if you are in Kajiado or in Makueni, then you might not be very high likely to get this quality BDS services. And then looking at information, and this is just the whole aspect of how do we disseminate this information so that people might actually know that such kind of a service exists and that can be able to support them. So we said, if we come up with centers across the country that offer this business development support, then there will be a high chance that the businesses will be able to improve their productivity and profitability. They get new market opportunities. They increase their access to finance, and even ensure that the enabling policy environment around those businesses will be favorable, because we will be providing input or insights based on the experience that we are experiencing with these businesses. And at the end of the day, we'll end up having and improving the livelihoods, because at the end of the day, we want to give people dignified livelihoods to live in. That's our mission and vision, where at the end of the day, we are asking ourselves, are we offering support that actually generates results? And we'll be seeing some of the results shortly. And this is where we ask ourselves, how do we make sure that all this on a day-to-day, how do we make you as a healthcare facility? How do we make you as an enterprise? Because even being a healthcare facility, as long as you have the books of accounts, revenue comes in and expenses has to be done or carried out, then it's an enterprise in one way or the other. Hence, sustainability is a very key aspect. These are the 5 objectives that we promised during our development of the contract, where we were looking at how do we come up with these centers. So you can think of them as like Huduma centers, where we have physical offices across the country in 6 counties, which will be seeing them shortly, where we offer no-cost technical advisory and business support services to these businesses by hand-holding them in a long-term way and in a very confidential way too, which you'll also see shortly. And then another aspect was, how do we ensure that by the time we are coming to the end of this program, which is in the next 1.5 years, how can we have institutions such as KHF adopt such kind of a model so that because the businesses and the healthcare facilities will still be there in the long run, so that we ensure that by any chance, even after 2026, there will be such kind of a support system that can be embedded within the association that can consistently and continuously support the healthcare facilities or the members of the federation. Thirdly, we then also are looking at how do we support businesses to access local and foreign markets. These ones, you have also been doing it through local expos at the county level, at the national level, and even at regional level. One thing that has been was very categorical with our donor was that we should ensure that the participation of women is at least 40% in our activities. That is both training and advisory. And then finally, because being a USAID funded program, we're also looking again, how do you increase the linkages between Kenya and the US in terms of the business being done. So in a nutshell, this is how this model looks like, the Small Business Development Centers model. It's a place where you walk in. I wouldn't want to refer it as a physical, the model is not a physical location. It's a software. And this software can literally be disseminated anywhere, wherever we want it to be done so. And what it offers is that we offer training. And this training can be customized dependent on the curriculum that is agreed upon. Secondly, after the training happens, some businesses might want to pursue a one-on-one support system. And what that will mean is that one-on-one will be long-term. So it does not end until that time when we say it has come to an end. It is metric-based. What it means by metric-based, it means that we are able to ask ourselves, if I've helped hospital A or hospital Y, what impact have I brought into that business? So that it stops being just to tick a box that I've supported hospital A or hospital B, but I can also show that with the help of hospital A and hospital B, we have increased its sustainability, we have increased its access to capital, we have increased its job retention, because for me working with locums, it was very hard to sustain permanent employees. But even just that maintaining of the locums or permanent employees is a great milestone that needs to be accounted for as part of maybe the strategies and the support that is being offered to the business. The next thing that we'll be looking at is offering that business market research. So a business might come and say, I want to start this new product, or I want to start this new service. Before you make that investment, we'll ask ourselves, what is the reaction from the market? Is it an acceptable product or an acceptable service? Will people pay for that? So then you'll find questionnaires can be done, surveys can be done, and even research, primary and secondary research can be done on that. So we have full-time market researchers in these centers that offer this kind of support. Finance facilitation will be around, how do we help you to connect doing your documentation? So you've approached a bank and you want to apply for a loan. That documentation process, coming up with a business plan, coming up with the cash flows, how do we handhold you in that process in order to ensure that you have all the right documentation in order to offer that to the bank and hopefully access the financing. So in all this, not leaving out the advocacy aspect, which for healthcare might be different, maybe for these other businesses, because the other businesses might be looking out for single business permit. I remember that time also when I was running my hospital, we had that issue where there was a decree that had been put that we should not pay county license. But when we come back to the county, because we had the KMPDU license, then we still found ourselves having county government coming and charging us or harassing us to pay for the county license. So you see, those are now some of the things then we currently, as we have been doing for the last 2-3 years, has also been advocating for such kind of policies. And we have successfully done that for several counties from the business point of view, the trades and markets. And now at the national level, we are also doing it for the MSMEs. Again, this should not leave the healthcare. We will not easily say healthcare is an exception. If there are opportunities within this remaining period of time where we can support in a strategy or in a policy that will show the direct correlation in terms of enterprises operations, then that will also be an avenue that we could explore. So when you look at this graph here, it typically shows you a healthcare facility that decides to learn on the go, to learn from the environment, to learn by making mistakes. There will be some growth, but that growth will be different based on a client who decides to get support and have someone who handholds them through that process. So by the mere fact of just having a business plan, having a strategy, that gives you a competitive edge of a business which decides to either see what the environment or see what the future holds for them without necessarily planning for it. A business that decides to go get a loan by itself, as opposed to a business that we support and handhold and even just cheer them. Sometimes I remember when I was in the business, unfortunately, we were 2 of us directors. Sometimes you'll just want someone to call and say, I think with all this, ensuring that we have our 2 theaters, having those expensive equipment installed, sometimes you just needed someone to tell you you're doing a good job and keep at it. So that chairperson, that cheerleader, or someone who can just continuously remind you that, yes, things might be hard, but let's keep on because you might be at a point where you can't turn back. Then that is the person who will ensure that you are getting that even moral support up to the point where your business goes to the next level. And down here, we can see what it looks like in terms of sales increase and jobs creation, the difference of an average business that does not receive SBDC support vis-a-vis the business that receives SBDC support. And this was a report that was done back in 2022 in the US, because I've mentioned that this model originated from the US and has been in implementation for the last 40 years, is the first one that is trying to contextualize it for the African market. These are where our centers are. I think immediately after this, through KHF, we will share, and I think we'd already shared the contacts of the coordinators and the contact persons in these centers. So if you're in any of these counties, because these are the counties that we started with in terms of our pilot. And again, don't hesitate if you are neighboring to these counties. So if you might be in Kilifi and you could easily call the Mombasa County. You can be in Meru and you could call the Isiolo County office, and so on and so forth. So it's best, we might find, because of our limited scope, we might not move or travel to your county if you're outside these counties, but we are not limited not to have virtual calls or video calls, or you coming over to the centers where that are listed here. So far, as of last week, these are the numbers that we have been able to achieve in terms of economic impact, because we told you that this process and this model is metric-based. So we have supported close to 9,300 businesses and 5,400 being women. We have also been supporting persons with disabilities. And the most, some of the outstanding impact has been in terms of finance access, that is over 200 million, and businesses who have been able to increase sales either through marketing plans, strategies, revision, that has gone up to a tune of 137 million Kenyan shillings. This is the meat of the conversation. And I think after this, we should be now in a point where I will hopefully welcome questions that now I can be able to answer, because I hopefully that will also be the place where I can offer any clarification, so that you can see if there are any businesses that will want to get any of this support, then how could they actually get them? So the first pillar, we are pillared in 4 pillars. And the first pillar is we offer these business development services, such as business plans, supporting you in bookkeeping, coming up with your governance, because I know quite a number of businesses. You will find a healthcare facility has the director, and then as time goes by, because either of paranoia, they decide to put their wife, who maybe might be a nurse, in the pharmacy, and say, because maybe that's where they feel funds might be, there'll be a high proliferation. And then maybe they decide to bring their cousin from up country to watch over the stocks or to be at the cashier. And because of, again, not ensuring that these people are professionally built or professionally developed to run those offices or those stations, then you find the business runs into losses and becomes quite unsustainable. What are some of the avenues of having, creating awareness about your product? Because maybe for you, marketing might not be the term to use for healthcare facilities, but how do you increase awareness? Through CMEs, through clinics? How do you go about that? How do you use technology? How do you do your tax planning? How do you go about customer experience? Because I remember one of the things that we were very big on was customer experience in our hospital. So even the ambience and the looks we were very categorical about it. So what you'll realize is the advisors might be general, may offer general advisory around these areas, and some might be cross-cutting across businesses. But when it gets to a point where you need a technical expert in terms of equipment, in terms of procedures, that's when now we can also link you up with consultants who will now be, that which would be a separate arrangement and not necessarily catered under our advisory. But if the consultant fees are not that high, and this is case to case, so it's not necessarily guaranteed, and especially maybe when it's a training, sometimes you might find we might cater for the consultant. But if it's a one-on-one business, you might find now we will link you to the consultant, and then now you can agree on the terms of engagement. The other one is facilitating access to markets. This could be through expos, where we have done several expos there before, co-sponsoring businesses that are our clients, and we are handholding them through that process, either regionally or here locally. Another one will be, there's one time we did a deal room project where IFC was doing a procurement where they brought companies that are offering procurement opportunities, and we brought in our businesses to be able to be sensitized on how they could take advantage of that. Then facilitating access to finance, that could be through grants. If you know these opportunities, then you'll find this advisor can handhold you through that process, or if it's a loan, or if it's a venture capital investment opportunity that you have come across. And then finally, with policy innovation, we have found ourselves supporting county governments and national government mainly in legislation, regulations, policies, strategies that make sure that it creates a conducive environment for these businesses to operate. So what am I saying here? These centers are out there. They have advisors. We have 3 advisors in every centers and 1 full-time market research associate who are ready to support you as businesses, either virtually or physically. Most of the time, we prefer these business advisors coming over to your premises and start that journey, which they onboard you, they do an assessment, and the more honest you are, and because it's a relationship, you might find maybe after the second and the third, when now maybe you might start appreciating the value that these advisors might be bringing to your businesses. And at that point, you might be able to also identify any areas of improvement that you feel these advisors might help you to improve on. So these are some of our partners that we have worked with, starting from the national government all the way to the county governments. And KHF, by extension, we have a partnership with them with Strathmore Business School. And it's only recently, excuse me, only recently that now we have started exploring how can we bring these business development support services to the members of Kenya Healthcare Federation. And hopefully we will want to ask ourselves and start even exploring avenues of having this service in a long term, in a very sustainable way, even beyond the project period that ends within the next 1 year or so. And that's it from me. And I think I will now want to give it back to you, Linda or Charity or Dr. Tim. Over to you.
All right. Thank you, Elisha, for that amazing talk you've given us. And I think it quickly it brings together the various aspects of business that if would work well, success is realized for the business owner and the shareholders, if I may put it like that. So at this particular point, we will see if we have any questions. And as we look through the charts, I think one of the things that I would maybe want you to elaborate a little further is transitioning businesses or SMEs to be investor ready. What would be your thoughts around that? Have you been able to transition any to that level, and what has it looked like?
All right, thanks, Dr. Tim. Yes, we have gotten, there is one business we have supported that got an investment of 100 million Kenyan shillings. And this has been around looking at their governance structures, mainly the SOPs that will be the most critical component of any business. So what are your operations procedures? What is your governance? What are your cash flows like? What's your business plan like? Has it shown possibility of growth? Because investor readiness is applicable for not only just angel investors or venture capitalists, but also loans where someone is going to look and access financing. So all that, the 200 million plus of loans that has gone into, those are businesses that, because it's the bank investing in a business only, that it will be repaying back. So quite a bit has been done around investor readiness, preparing these businesses for that. And some point, you just tell a business, don't even go look for investment. You do the investment yourself from your own savings. So maybe you just had some loopholes in your cash, in your books or in your financial controls. If you just close those gaps or address those gaps, then you can easily find yourself that your business can grow organically. So there are all these options and case by case that we handle, because it's not like just a blanket way that we handle this business for readiness.
All right. Thank you. I think Lydia has asked that the recording, yes, will be shared. I think from what I can see, not too many questions on the chat. But finally, from me is you have different centers in the various counties that you're working in. So is it you just walk in as a business and the conversation begins, or how do you get to interact with the team in the counties and also possibly here at Strathmore? How would you go about that? And are there anything is required maybe to pay? Is it free? And at the end of the session with the business, what follow-up is there?
All right, good. So again, the beauty is open door policy. So walk into any of those centers. I will also be sharing the Excel sheet, or rather the information that has all the contacts, both phone numbers and emails of all our centers that people have seen in that slide that I presented. Open door policy, walk in anytime, call anytime, Okay, just within operation hours. So if you send an email, maybe outside operation hours, you'll be responded to. Some of them also still respond to late night because, again, with this personal relationship that grows, you find these advisors even start becoming invested in your businesses because they want to see you succeed. So with the USAID funding, the US taxpayers' money, as of now, no costs is incurred if an advisor is coming to offer that advisory to you. Now, coming next year, because we'll be coming towards the end of the program, is where now we'll be asking ourselves what kind of partnerships and collaborations will we want to get into, even with KHF, so that even after that, how do we ensure that such kind of services will be not out of reach, because they will be affordable, there will be people will know about them, and they can actually tap into them and get the necessary support to make sure that the businesses are continuously supported to be sustainable. So that's if I hope I answered all the questions that you had posted.
I think you definitely have. There is an anonymous question here that says, are there progression, quantified indicators to monitor after possibly establishing a baseline? I don't know that you understand it. It's on the Q&A part, but it's asking, are there progression, quantified indicators to monitor after possibly establishing a baseline?
After establishing a baseline. Okay. Yeah. So when we onboard a business, the first thing we do is company assessment. And the company assessment will start asking you questions like, do you know where your clients are coming from? Who are your partners? Where do you have a business plan? Do you have a go-to-market kind of strategy? Do you have certain SOPs in place? Because with that, and with those questions, it helps us to know, so we can almost call that as a baseline. Then after that, the next thing we ask ourselves, what is your ask? So someone can say, my ask is, I want to get financing. I want to get equipment financing. I want to increase my penetration and have more clients. Or I want to increase my collection from the fund. So then that's when now we start putting those metrics, and those metrics will be around the economic impact indicators that we mentioned earlier. That is jobs created, because some other people will be like, I want to see how I can create jobs. I want to see how I can retain the jobs. Others will be, how do I get that fund? How do I increase my sales? How do I formalize? Because there's some other people who might not have formalized, so they will want that extra license or that extra permit. So that is also another indicator we use. Another person will be like, I want to expand. I want to move from a level 3 to level 4, or level 3A to B, or to level 4 or 5. So those are also, if those are part of the plan that the business will have expressed at the beginning of the conversation, then those are the things now the advisor works with the business to ensure that they achieve. So yes, we have those matrices that we keep on tracking. And because it's a long term, you can even talk to your advisor as many times as possible, even twice or thrice a week, or once every week, dependent on the assignment that the advisor gives you as a business. You do the assignment, come back having done that assignment, so that again, it's progressive and moving towards those goals.
All right, excellent. I think that was it from me. Everyone who's listening to us today evening, I think this presents a fantastic opportunity if you're a business owner. And I think what we've learned here today cuts across all sizes of business, from small, medium, micro enterprises as well, and even the large businesses. It's a good refresher on what we should be doing on a day-to-day basis to ensure that we enjoy success. From us at KHF, before I hand over to Linda, our work is to provide an enabled business environment through advocacy and involvement in policy formulation and implementation. And And over the last 1 year, we've been going to the space of project implementation, just so that we can have a feel of what that looks like. And the experience we have had is that we are trying to link what is said in conversations like this so that they can leave the room, and we translate, and or we assist to translate that into profitability and realization of the missions that as individual businesses we set out to do. At this moment, I would like to hand over to Linda. Mine was to facilitate the conversation, and I do want to hope we have ably done that. Linda, over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tim, and thank you for moderating the session very well, and thank you to Elijah. Moving forward, I think if we don't have any questions or any comments, we would like to bring this to a close and say that we will continue to engage our members consistently and give feedback about Kenya SBDC. If anyone would like to be contacted or would like to reach out to Elisha, we will be available. Unless there's any comment or any question from anyone, we'd like to say thank you to everyone who attended and looking forward to interacting in the recent future.
Thank you, Linda, for that. What I'd like to encourage members is HF is a business member organization, and we are carried by our members. So the more we have, the higher we can fly, and the more we can be useful to the entire value chain in the healthcare space. And right now we have a big family of over 260 business members, business member organizations rather, and we are appealing to each and every one of you. If you come from a business or an organization joining KHF, Martin will put the email address through which you can reach us on the chat, so that you are able to come and join in this big family. We learn from each other. We don't believe we have the monopoly of knowledge or ideas. Our work is to learn from our members and just carry that forward to ensure that it translates to some usefulness in the missions that you are doing. So Martin, just kindly put in the email address through which members can reach us, and we will allow that to be on the chat maybe for a minute before we wind down the talk for the day. So that being said, thank you so much. Asanteni sana. Receive kind regards from our board and our chairman, Dr. Gakombe. He would have loved to be here with us, and he sends his kind regards to all of us today. So just leave that on the chat, Martin, so that people can see the email address, and then after a minute, we'll be happy to wind down. Asanteni sana.
Right.
Yeah. So that is the email address, mchege@khf.co.ke. You could also do admin@khf.co.ke for us to reach out to you for your various needs. Thank you so much, everyone.
Asante sana.